Hello, welcome to another episode of Bville Live. Today we're going to be making a traditional Polish dish. It's really good and a family favorite. It's called Huluski, or Huluski. It's made with cabbage, onions, and noodles. You can use egg noodles. I'm going to be using a small head of cabbage, one whole onion, about 2 tablespoons of butter, and a little bit of olive oil. Traditionally, it's made with a stick of butter, which is a bit much for me. So I cut back on my butter and I add some olive oil instead. You can make it to your taste by adding more oil or butter as you like it, and a little bit of salt and pepper. Super easy to make, super fast, and it's good for the soul. So we'll get started. I'm going to start chopping up my onions and get those going, and then the cabbage, and we'll get started. Okay, so we put our olive oil and onions in the pan with a little bit of butter, and we are sauteing them up. I have my stock pot filled with water. Next, you're going to prepare your cabbage. So you want to take the cabbage and cut a core out of your cabbage bottom. And I have a nice small head of cabbage, which is just the right size. I'm going to cut this in half. Turn my heat down a little bit. And then I'm going to slice my cabbage up. Now, sometimes if you don't get the whole core out when you open it up, once you cut it in half, you can get the rest of the core out so that you don't have anything tough. And then you're going to slice that down, okay? And the way you're going to slice this is into strips, okay? So I'm going to cut it like I'm cutting the onions, going to cut it down into strips, and then I'm going to cut it across. Some people chop it up. I usually, since I'm using egg noodles, I try and keep my onions and cabbage about the same size as my egg noodles. Looks a little nicer in the dish. I'm going to add that to my frying pan. My water has come to a boil. So I'm going to make a half a bag of egg noodles with this, and it makes quite a bit. So my water's boiling. I'm adding my egg noodles to it. If you want to make your noodles from scratch, you can. We'll be making noodles from scratch on another video. Give that a stir. Chop up the rest of your cabbage. Now you can use a big head of cabbage, you can use a half a head of cabbage. I happen to have a small one, so it's the right size for half a bag. But a large, if you're going to do a full bag of noodles, then I would use a full head of cabbage. It makes quite a bit, so it'll feed a family or a crowd. Some people make kibasi on the side with it, or they'll actually cut the meat up and add it to the cabbage and onions. So you can make it however you want. But traditionally, it's just made with the cabbage and the onions. It's a big favorite in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, any places where they have big Polish communities. They'll see it at Polish festivals, and it's always good. I do my own take on it simply because I don't want as much butter in with it, and I find that it tastes just as good. So you just stir that around and let it cook up. We're going to set our noodles to boil for 10 minutes. They've been in there about 2 minutes already, so I'll leave it at 8. And we're going to let that cook up, and I'll be back to show you how to put it together. Okay, our noodles are done. I drain them and I put them back into the pot. And now we're going to put it together. So our cabbage, onions, butter, and olive oil have all cooked down. I'm going to turn the heat off here, and all you're going to do is toss it with the noodles. So just take it and scrape it right into the pan. It takes about the same amount of time to cook the cabbage and the onions as it does to boil your noodles, about 10 minutes at low. So if you time it right and you keep your heat down on your cabbage and onions and just keep stirring, they'll be done at the same time. And then all you're going to do is toss it together, just stir it. And if you find that the noodles are too dry, you can add a little bit more olive oil to it or a little more butter. So I am going to add a little bit more olive oil to it, maybe a tablespoon or so. And I've also added salt and pepper to the mix, and you can add that at any time. So I'm adding some fresh ground pepper and a little bit of salt, probably half a teaspoon of salt in all. If you want it saltier, just add more. Okay, then you're just going to stir that around. And that is it. Pasta is a good base for a lot of things. You can just, if you add onion and garlic and a vegetable to pasta, you're set with a vegetarian meal. It's simple, it's easy, and it's a crowd pleaser. And I'll serve that up in a dish. Show you what it looks like. At these festivals, people line up and they take boxes of it home. It's so good. And it's really, really easy to make. As you can see, it took less than 10 minutes. And there you have a complete meal. Enjoy.